Hi guys, Mimi G Style here with another sew along. Today we're going to be working on one of my new fall patterns with Simplicity, pattern 8466. We're going to be working on view A, the top. Let's get started. Now if you're new to sewing or you just need a refresher course, make sure and visit the Sewing Basics video linked in the description box below. Watch that, then come back and sew along with me. Okay, so obviously you're going to need pattern 8466, and in the back of the envelope you'll find fabric recommendations for both views along with any notions you're going to need, and of course a sizing chart so you can pick the one that fits you most according to your measurements. Let's go over the pieces we need to get started. You're going to need pattern piece number 5, which is the sleeve, and you're going to cut 2. You're going to cut pattern piece number 1 on the fold, which is the front, and you're going to cut 1. You're going to cut pattern piece number 2, which is the back, and you're going to cut 2. You're going to cut pattern piece number 3, which is our collar, and you're going to cut 1. You're going to cut pattern piece number 4, which is our lower band, and you're going to cut 2. And last, you're going to cut pattern piece number 6, which is our sleeve band, and you're going to cut 2. Now, whichever piece you choose to color black is completely up to you. You can be as creative as you want to, or you can make the entire thing out of just one solid color. Once you have all of your pieces cut and your notions, we can start sewing. Okay, now some of these basic things like making a dart, you should already know how to do. If you need a little more help, you can always sign up for the sewitacademy.com. So go ahead and make your darts in your bust, and then go ahead and press them down towards the body. Now we're going to go ahead and take our back pieces, and we're going to pin at the shoulders. Align your notches. Now we're going to sew across our shoulders using 5/8 of an inch seam allowance. Okay, back stitch at the beginning and at the end. And do the other shoulder the same way. Now go ahead and grab your collar, and I'm going to fold mine in half, wrong sides facing. Now I'm using the other side of the fabric, the wrong side of the fabric, as my contrasting fabric, but you should fold yours however you want your fabric to be. So if you want right sides to be showing the right side, then you would fold with wrong sides facing. Now I'm going to pin it to my neck, matching my notches and my dots. I should have a dot here that you should have marked to correspond to your shoulder. Now we're going to stitch our collar onto our neck using 5/8 of an inch seam allowance. Back stitch at the beginning and at the end. Okay, once you have your collar attached, I want you to press your seam allowances down towards the body, and we're going to attach our sleeve a little differently. We're going to do the flat method. So I'm going to go ahead and place my center dot on my shoulder seam and pin. Line up your dots. Align your notches. You have 2 notches for the back and 1 notch for the front. Okay, now we're going to sew using 5/8 of an inch seam allowance. Back stitch at the beginning and at the end. You're going to do your other sleeve the same way. Okay, now that we have our sleeves attached, we're going to go ahead and sew our side seam and underarm seam. Match my underarm seams. Align any notches and pin. Once you have it pinned on both sides, go ahead and go to your sewing machine, and you're going to stitch using 5/8 of an inch seam allowance so you get to underneath the arm, and then pivot and stitch underneath your sleeve. You're going to do that for both sides. Okay, now that you're done sewing up your side seam and underarm seam, we're going to go ahead and grab our sleeve band. And again, I'm using the wrong side as my contrasting fabric. Fold in half, right side's facing whatever that right side is for you, and pin. Align that notch, and you're going to stitch using 5/8 of an inch seam allowance. Okay, go ahead and press your seam open and then turn your fabric to the right side. And now we're going to go ahead and attach it to our sleeve. With right sides facing each other, and aligning first your underarm seam. I'm going to pin there first. And now you're going to sew around using 5/8 of an inch seam allowance. Okay, so I'm going to start at the underarm seam. Backstitch. Now you're going to do the other sleeve band the same way. Okay, so next we're going to do the zipper. So I want you to place right sides facing. Let me turn my sleeves right side out. I'm going to align my neck so I can make sure that that seam line is exactly where it should be. And I'm going to put a pin where my notch is, or your dot. That's where your zipper is going to end. And then at the top of the collar. So now what we're going to do is we're going to stitch using a normal end stitch from the bottom of our top up to where our notch is, where the zipper is going to end. Then we're going to back stitch, cut our threads, and then we're going to stitch using a basting stitch from here all the way up to the top. Okay, using a normal end stitch, we're going to back stitch starting at the bottom of our top. Okay, back stitch, cut your thread, and now switch to a basting stitch and continue sewing. Now I want you to go ahead and press the seam open. Okay, now still using a basting stitch, we're going to be working only on one seam allowance. You're going to place the invisible part of your zipper face down. I'm going to start with my zipper way up here so that I can get that zipper pull out of the way. That's why I use an extra long zipper. And I'm going to just baste this down. Now we're going to turn it around. And again, only on the seam allowance, we're going to stitch down the other side. Okay, I'm going to turn my shirt to the right side. And I'm going to remove this basting stitch. Okay, go ahead and open your zipper and then pull your zipper pull to the inside. So that it's completely out of the way. Okay, now we're going to switch our zipper foot. And we're going to be stitching and lightly pulling open our zipper coils using a regular length stitch. Back stitch at the beginning. And now we're going to turn it around and do the other side. Now you can close your zipper back up. Now to finish off the top, I'm just going to fold to the inside and to the side, and I'm just going to top stitch. And you're going to do that to the other side. Okay, once your zipper's finished, it's nice and clean on the inside, and on the outside we're going to attach our lower band. So I'm going to set this aside for just 1 sec. And again, I'm going to use the wrong side as my right side. So I'm going to turn this over. Okay, with right sides facing. Remember, this is my right side because it's my contrasting. I'm going to pin the side. And I want you to stitch down using 5/8 of an inch seam allowance, then press your seams open. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and fold this in half. We're going to pin it to the lower part of our top. I'm going to pin first at my sides. And you have notches at the hem of your top and also on your band. Okay, now we're going to go to the sewing machine and we're going to stitch all the way around using 5/8 of an inch seam allowance. Okay, you're going to back stitch at the beginning and at the end. Now go ahead and press your seam allowances up towards the top. Okay, if you plan to finish the hem allowance of your sleeve band, then just turn under your seam allowance and stitch. I'm going to leave my sleeve band with a raw edge because it fits the style of my shirt. And all you have to do now is give it one final press and you are all done. Well, that's all there is. I hope you've enjoyed this sew along. Until next time, peace.